practitioner. She works with individuals, teams, and organizations to identify and engage optimal from a place of genius for self-team, organizational, and societal impact and transformation. She holds a master's degree in French language. She has coached, trained, and spoken to thousands of professionals and individuals locally and internationally. Now, viewers, wherever you're watching around the world, would you please help me receive Stephanie to Life Gist with Mama Helen today?
Thank you. Thank you, everyone. Thank you so much, Mama Helen. It's a pleasure to be here.
It's really a pleasure having you. And so beautiful, by the way.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Awesome. And then, of course, we also have Pastor Basil O'Day, not Ray, who is a theologian from Liberty University, Virginia. He's a preacher, counselor, public and charismatic speaker. He's also into marketing and cost analyst as well. It's such a pleasure having you on set with me as well on Like Just with Mama Helen. Pastor Basil. Pastor Basil, can you hear us? Oh, Pastor Basil isn't here yet. Okay, all right. We also have a dynamic lady. We also have a dynamic lady in the house. Okay. Oh no, Pastor Batty hasn't joined us yet. But we also have a dynamic lady with us here today as well. She's my daughter. I am ever proud of her. She's shining. I can see her hair. She's looking extremely good. Well, she's Mrs. Abiodun Braglia, a wife, a mother, and a lover of God. She's a graduate from Ambrose Ali University and currently in nursing school in the United Kingdom. She is. I love listening to her because she's such a straight, target kind of human being. Would you please help me receive as well, Abiodun Blackgria today?
Thank you, Mama. Thank you for having me in the show.
Oh, beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. Perhaps maybe later on we would have the thought guest. But in the meantime, let's just get to the matter of today. And you already know the topic. Help. My husband is sleeping with our maid. Why might sleep with their house helps? That's exactly what we're going to be doing today. That's exactly what we're going to be doing today. And it's really going to be powerful, people. So let me start by asking Braga, what is maid or housemaid, as the case may be?
Mama, an housemaid is somebody that we bring into our family to assist us, that we bring them in as part of the family to help us, maybe because of our busy schedules or because the house chores is too much for us. So they're like, to some, like me, I know I once had housemates and I see them as part of family. I don't really see, some people see them as slaves, but to me, they are not. They are just like helps. They come into your home to assist you, to do a lot of things, maybe with children, with house chores, to make life kind of easy for us. I think that's who I would call an housemaid.
Okay, announcement. Awesome. So they help us with the cleaning and, of course, the action. I want to know what Stephanie would have to say concerning that. Stephanie?
Okay, thank you. Thank you once again for this opportunity. Without even needing to use the...
Maid? Who is a house help?
If you're going to go by the word, a house help is someone that helps you around the house.
Okay.
I'll just put it brief. A house help is someone that helps you around the house.
That's awesome. That's awesome. That's simply put. Just in case, I wanted to get your view concerning that as well. Yeah. Now, what are their duties then, very quickly?
Okay. And so their duties are relative to what they are, should I say, their bosses or whoever they're working for, whoever they're helping, has specified that their duty should be. So if you're getting someone to help you in the house, the question the person I believe would be asking is, what am I going to be helping you to do? And it is the responsibility of the
Moment. It's, I don't know why. Yes, please go ahead.
okay, it is the responsibility of whoever has sought a house help to tell that person what the person should do. So responsibilities are relative. So what I may need help for in my house
Yes.
could be different for what you would need help for in your house.
Mhm.
So that means the specificity of what needs to be done has to be stated by myself or yourself who has brought in that person to help. So it's the responsibility is relative to who is employing.
So who is employed? Okay, well, we don't need to spend much time on that, but let's just look at the what would be the limit then? Abiodun, what would be what should be the limit for an housemaid?
Uh,
What are the
uh,
limits?
every
This is
housemaid have a limit. Like I'll say, when it comes to matrimony, like we said, housemaid or house help, they are
yes.
mainly there because they need to help around the house. And if you go by the topic on what we are talking about, our husbands are not part of their responsibilities. You understand? So the duties of the housemaid
Yes.
is like she rightly said, the day an housemaid comes into your house, you specifically tell them what their duties are, what you want them to do. You know, you let them know that this is your limit. You don't go beyond this. You are particularly here maybe for the cleaning, taking care of the children, but you're not supposed to go into my bedroom. You're not supposed to prepare meal for my husbands. It is what you tell them, it's their limits that they should act on. That's it.
Okay. So then can one then say that some of these maids could come in pretending, maybe at the early stage, they're nice and proper, then all of a sudden some things starts happening. I mean, what do you think concerning that, Stephanie?
Okay, permit me to play the devil's advocate here, and I'm going to come from the perspective of, if what we're saying, are we talking housemaids? I've once had, okay, let's use maid. Maid is feminine, but housemaids, quite importantly, are women. They are not things. They are not animals. They are women. And quite, just to put a bit of a caveat, one of the things that I had to do when I learned about this our meeting was, I didn't just want to come and speak from the limitations of my perspective as a woman. I wanted to step into the shoes of men and see through their eyes, should I say empathize from where they stand, to try and understand, to get into the man's mind, to know why, because of the question, why do men sleep with house helps? If we want to actually put that in proper context, it's like saying, why do men sleep with women? House help is not house help is not a limiting factor because she is a woman. So if it's in part of, I got quite a lot of feedback. I spoke to some men in their 60s and going on in 70s. I spoke with middle-aged men. I spoke with young men, and there was quite some things that. And one of the things I tried to do was I spoke with men that I could have a no holds barred conversation with. And in the middle of this, because I recognize the pain or the trauma that women feel when it comes to this topic, but it's quite important to understand the journey. Then if we're going to take dressing, we should be taking dressing from an understanding for a part that we need to play and the part that the man needs to play. So if I'm going to just speak from what the lady before me talked about when she said, "Oh, yes, part of specifying your duties is also your duty is not in my husband's room." Because if one of the things I've also come to recognize is the assumption that you should know you shouldn't get it, or it is you're my housemaid, some places are out of. But Hagar was boundaries, but Hagar was Sarah's housemaid. Yet she gave her housemaid to Abraham. So if we're going to put it in context, in different contexts, we also have, as house owners, be able to understand that firstly, the housemaid is a woman and a man was designed biologically to be attracted to a woman. So
The
if
question,
we
the initial question is, okay, you know, to determine things,
sorry, I can't hear you.
that was,
There's a bit of a distortion.
uh, Pastor, I think you haven't been able to successfully name what it is. Is it that um, wrong with your device or
There's an
something?
interference. Yeah,
Yes.
I think
Can you
from the speaker that just joined, there seems to be an interference from their connection. Yeah, it's that connection. Yes.
Okay. All right. Because of time, because of this, let us not spend too much time looking at this when we have so many areas to cover today. So, at what point, I mean, um, do they cross the line and why?
So
At what point do they cross the line and why? Let's hear from you, Abiodun. Looking good ever anyway.
Mama, I didn't hear that. What did you say?
I said, at what point do they cross the line and why?
The housemates.
Yes, please.
Okay. Um, most of the time, the housemates they cross the line when they start paying attention mostly to the man of the house, your husband, and it's like bringing a maid into your house, and you tell the maid, "You don't prepare meal for my husband. You don't do his laundry. I have to do all of this." And most times, because the woman is not at home, those things you have asked the housemaid not to do are the things they do behind you. They always prepare meal for your husband unknowingly to you. And one thing we should understand, like Stephanie really said, the way God created men, it takes should I say, mm, the grace of God, and um how will I put it? It takes the grace of God, it takes discipline.
Okay.
It takes the grace of God, it takes discipline to really, for some men to really avoid women, no matter how their structure is, whether pretty or ugly. You
Mhm.
understand?
Yes.
So, most times when you see them getting close to the man by doing some chores for them,
Yes.
they're already crossing the line, because most times you are not there, maybe because of your busy schedule. You are always at home with the kids, and when the man comes home, the person the man sees most is the housemaid.
Mhm.
You understand? And they keep, "Oh, sir, what will you have for lunch? I've prepared this for you. Do you have this to do?" Most of the time, the men, they see these ladies always. You
mhm.
understand? And at times, when you are attracted to people you see all the time, not because you have feelings for them, not because you love them, but because they are always there.
Mhm.
At the moment an housemaid go against the madam's wish, they already crossed the line.
Yes.
That's it.
Mm.
You've told them your duty here is just around the house for the kids and every other thing. My husband's bedroom, anything that has to do with my husband, you are bound from it. It's not part of your duty. Yet this same housemaid goes behind you and always asks for the man's desire, like things they want the man, they want to assist the man with. And before you know it, the man start getting used to them because they are always there to meet their immediate needs, not sexual needs this time around, with small house chores that they can use to assist them. So by so doing, they're already crossing the line.
They're already crossing the line. I love that.
Yeah.
How do you know if your man is already having it with an housemaid? Let's ask Stephanie on this. How do you know?
Sorry, for me.
Hello, Stephanie?
There's a bit of a break. You said, okay, how do I know if the man is
Something is already happening. Yes.
So that is
how would a woman find out? How would you know? Because you see, okay, I'll give you an example here. This couple, I think they live somewhere in Ibadan or something, this housemaid has been in the house, the wife been a nurse, the man had the business. I mean, the business was doing very well. And the housemaid had been with them for about 10 years or more. And from nowhere, she became pregnant. And then the madam of the house asked her, how come? What's going on here? Why come you're pregnant? And who are you pregnant with? Initially, she was angry, blah, blah, the normal thing. But then, of course, being a nurse and a Christian, she couldn't see herself push for the pregnancy to be removed. So now the question was, we need to know who the father is. And well, it turned out to be, the long story short, it turned out to be that the pregnancy was actually for her husband. Okay, so when I came visiting, and I saw her pregnant, I said, what's going on? Is she getting married now or something of that nature? And then she pulled me aside and said, well, she got pregnant for him, And what we're talking about here, she later became the second wife, started having children and all that. So the question, back to the question again, what's the clue? How do you know? Because something must have been going on. They must have met, probably, hypothetically, several times before that one clicked. So how is it that the madam of the house didn't know? And is it that they tend to perfect their acts or something? That's the question. And
okay.
At any time, please.
Okay. So I really would like that to just know if we have a particular goal that we want to achieve to help people that find themselves in this, so that we are not just consumed with the outcome, but track the process and ourselves be able to learn to know what leads to what could lead to what, and it from the root, instead of just attending to the fruits. Because I perceive that these things are at that point where we're trying to find out, how do we know that they're getting into it? We're trying to find out how to pluck the fruits. But for those that just understand how we get there, if it's okay to try and map that aspect to also help us women as well as men, because I really cannot honestly say if for example both of them, husband and maid, have learned how to hide their game, you wouldn't know. If they have learned how to do it, you cannot.
You can also, drop in your lines as well. It is always interactive. It's an interacting program. So please kindly do so. Just let us know what you think about some of the questions that are coming out. And then, of course, we can also have you, whichever way it is. We just want to learn today, because, the question is, and this is not to shift to put blame on any, we're just trying to find out, at least if you know that these are some signs, these are the things that you look out for. If something of this nature is happening at their own front, then you can easily guide against it. Hence question. I mean, for example, that lady has been in the house, like I earlier on said, for 10 years. And for whatever reason, the madam of the house didn't know. So how what are the things then? Because that's the next question that would follow. But Biodo, do you have anything to say concerning that question?
Sorry, if I could just tie, I'm sorry, if I could just tie down a bit on this aspect of how do we know? It's the knowing is, like I said, it would be difficult for the woman to know if the man and the maid know how to keep it quiet. And if, for example, the maid could lie if she didn't own up to say it was Oga. If she had agreed with Oga and Oga said, "Come, don't tell Madam, I will build this estate for you. Tell her it's that boy down the street." So it all depends, because at the end of the day, it takes two consenting adults, whether intentionally or forced, because just looking at it from the aspect, which is why I'm coming from the point of, we need to understand what's in the Oga's mind for him to go, because it is disrespectful in the first place on the wife. It's disregarding, it's demeaning. Yes. But then
we'll get there in a moment. I just want us to.
Yeah, but if it comes to how do you know if they play their game well, you may never know. So the thing is, how do we mitigate, which I'm hoping that we'll get to. Yeah, but I really cannot say how you will know, except she gets pregnant, of which she can get pregnant and lie that it is orgasm when it's not orgasm. If, for example, and if you are not trusting of your husband, then you can actually accuse someone falsely either way.
Time to this. Biodo, can you? Thank you, Stephen. Can you jump in there?
Like what the how do you know issue is very difficult, especially if you are the kind of woman that trusts your husband. You understand? If you are the type that trusts your husband, even if something is going on with the housemaid, that would be the least thing on your mind. Most times, one of the signs for you to know that your husband is misbehaving with the house help is the attitude of the house help. Some are so perfect that you will never know. Trust me, especially those that know how to play the game. Like you said initially, Mama, when we started, you said some come with pretense. They already have a motive before they are coming, but they come and they act. Why some, it is even the men that lure them into it. They actually came to do their job. But for the woman to know, it's two things. One, if she's the type that is very sensitive and spiritual, I'm using the word spiritual because most times I know of a lady, her husband was having an affair. She didn't know. She always discussed the issue with the husband, but she will always tell the husband, when I was praying, I had this dream about so and so person. You understand? Not knowing she is the one.
Could that be, and how did you change? For example, I mean, someone who has been very respectful before, and suddenly now, the madam comes in and she's like, she started coming
That
over.
one is a red flag. That one is a red flag. Yeah.
That's the aspect.
That is the number one red flag.
To a pointer to saying that, yes, it's so true that one can be so trusting and you will never know, but there are some red flags, that are also ignored as well, that I think it is very important that we also consider, because she could just become something else. I mean, maybe she was very, very obedient, very respectful before, and all of a sudden, the madam calls her, 3, 4, 5 times, and she's so slow answering, or suddenly, her attitude towards the man is now more into, I mean, you can, the body language, the way, the chemistry between them, and so on and so forth. Even though they try hiding, these are some of the things that women really need to look into. Thank you, both of you. I mean, you've done marvelously well, on that. And then we're having the pastor is finally joining in, and we're no longer having the interruption. So, Pastor, what do you think concerning this? I mean, what drives the men? Okay, because we're really running against time, and we've been dancing around, one or two. What drives the men towards this? You're
All
a
right.
man.
Thank you for having me, Mama. I'm very sorry we've been having some glitches with the connections, So, and I've been listening anyway to all the contributions that they've been making, and they have been very, very insightful. I've been enjoying it. So, and the first thing is let's break the divide, the categories. Are we talking about believers? Are we talking about the regular person, the secular person? So, which ones are we dealing with? All right. So now, if you're dealing with a secular person, remember that by nature, man is polygamous, and I want us to understand that part. Man by nature is polygamous, and I've had a couple of sessions over these. We must hold on to that. Now, the only man who does not flow and they end up creating a problem in the home is the one who truly is born again. That's now I want to say this because sometimes when we say born again, it's not just someone who comes to church who knows how to preach the gospel. There are 4 cardinal virtues. Modesty is one of them. Temperance is another one. And the fact is that not many believers have the grace of temperance, the ability to hold back, the grace to hold back. So, and then, some persons jumped into ministry through what you call apprenticeship, cut and lay stuff. And then they kept moving in that direction. They started enjoying the gains of being in ministry. And then they didn't nurture a part of them that had a problem from the beginning. So, I mean, if you don't nurture that part of you, when you get into ministry, no matter how well you're doing in ministry and you're reeling in the anointing, if you don't deal with that part of you that had an issue before you got married, before you went into ministry, it will resurface when a situation like this comes in. And now, I want to also say this. There are different categories of maids. We have to also have this understanding. I recall that I went for a charismatic program in the Sierra Leone, and while we were there, we encountered a minister who had a very close shave with a marine spirit. And now 4 girls came into town, and then they went to the cemetery to start dancing and acquiring powers. And then this girl came to the minister's house and knocked and said, wanted to see the man of God. And the man of God said, sensed it in the spirit that this was trouble. And then he said to her, let's go to where the person you're looking for is. They're having a program somewhere, so we'll just join them. They got there, the charismatic guys were having a wonderful session. They were already praying. The moment the girl entered into the session, she started manifesting. She confessed later. That's exactly. She confessed later that they were 4 who were sent into town and that the minister was the target. And so they did some praying here and there. By the time they said they were taking her to her home, where she said she was from, they got to the very front of the house and she disappeared. Now, imagine keeping that girl in your home as a maid.
Very deep.
So what will you expect? What will you expect from that kind of scenario? Clearly, if the man is not strong enough, if his man is not deep in Christ enough, of course he will just fall. That is only one aspect. And I understand how a colleague on the studio, the lady had done all this analysis, and I concur. I agree. Sometimes there are things that women should not allow the maids to do. There are things that they shouldn't allow. Now, see, these days, women get busy with a whole lot of things. And I can understand economic challenges. They want to measure up and help the home to keep moving so there's no lag in any area. And so they help. And while they are helping, they are away from home most of the time. And while they are not there, somebody else is acting like a wife.
Hmm.
Like she said, see, there's a point you get to as a man. You're no longer thinking about how beautiful this girl is. You're no longer thinking about the fact that she comes from a humble background. She's poor. She's not of my category or my level. You just start enjoying the kind of companionship she brings to the table. She's the one. I mean, sometimes you find out that your husband comes back from work, and it's the maid who is asking how did it go today. And the wife comes back and says, I'm rushing into the bathroom. I have to have my bath. You know what? She's on the phone, and then she's doing a whole lot of things, and she doesn't get to do some of these things. And so the figure the man sees in a home is the woman. Is that lady that is the house help.
Now the question here is, we can just let you be. I mean, it's what some of the things you're talking about. They're so true that it's quite informational. Now, a woman also gets tempted.
Yes.
Drivers at home. There are times the husbands are not present. You even have male, helps at home as well. And yet, hypothetically, the women are not given to this. So, I mean, is it that there seems to be something like control? I mean, lack of control?
Can I step into? Is it okay to just say something to this particular aspect? It is easier for a man to look downwards than it is for a woman to. A woman has stronger pride when it comes to sexual issues. And it is easier, which let's not forget that women, when Adam saw Eve, he said, wow. When Eve saw Adam, she said nothing. The man, like he said, and that is what the men are biologically sexual and polygamist. However, a man can, we hear this in that women don't like to marry downwards. They like to marry upwards. More like they marry, there was something I wrote down, women marry more for affection, comfort, safety, security. And you hardly find, and I'm speaking while we're also speaking under the the umbrella of being believers. It's quite important that we are able to x-ray these things to the root of it, because there are believers that have these issues as well. And just to be able to understand that men can, if the word help, if the help, who we call her house help, who is a woman supposed to be the help meet, if the help is the one that is making the man feel helped, and the woman is too busy to make him feel seen, heard, and helped, then we have turned his attention to someone that is making him feel seen, heard, and helped. So the issue is, you can hardly find, and even if it is hidden, you will hardly find a woman having an affair with a security man or a driver or a vulcanizer. But you can easily find a man, because women have a stronger pride when it comes to the issues of sexual inclinations and may rarely look downwards. They rather look upwards, but men would look downwards.
We then say that, something must have gone wrong with our values. I mean, I'm referring to, to the male folks now, as something gone wrong, because at the end of the day, there should be some level of, no, I can't bring myself to this level. Okay. It's one thing for a man to be cheating. It's another thing for the man to be cheating with his housemaid.
Okay.
That's a perspective.
I'm going to connect with the lady, and I agree with her a great deal. Now we have had stories here and there about women who were involved with their drivers, their gardeners. I mean, they are scarce though, but not in the West.
In the proportion of
this is not scarce in Europe. It's not scarce in America. It's scarce in Africa. So it takes us back to the fact that we are also a superstitious people. Like the average Nigerian woman will have to think a whole lot to get to that point, to get to that level, And then now, like she said, a man may not truly be mentally, emotionally attached to the woman that he is having sex with. But once a woman does that, she'll be attached. And so that's why it takes a whole lot for a woman to decide, you know what, I'm going to do this.
Okay.
And so as long as a woman continues to hope that she might be able to change the narrative, because there's something else that is also coming up my head, and that is the fact that I don't want to let go of the fact that there are women who are putting in so much, doing their best to make things work in the home, and yet their husbands are still misbehaving. Because sometimes if you try,
I wanted to pull that across to you.
Okay, that's coming up my head.
They're there for their husbands, they're there
yes,
emotionally and otherwise, but yet the man is still strained.
The woman is a creator. The woman is an innovator. The woman is a manager. So once she comes into a home, what she wants to do is build that home and make it work and make it the best that it can be. And so everything she does centers around that. So that's why sometimes, even when the man is asking the woman, let's go to bed, the woman is like, well, what happened today? How did things work out? Did we succeed at this? Did we succeed at that? I mean, is the child having headache? Is the child sleeping well? Have they eaten? I mean, these are the things that are in the head of the woman. But it's not the same thing with for instance, I find it very intriguing that my son can be with me and may not even know that his temperature is rising. And my wife comes from outside, and then before she has time to even cuddle him, she's already saying, this child looks like he's not feeling well. And then we start feeling it, and then we realize
I have to jump in because of time.
That's what the woman is. That's what the woman is.
Possibility of, because when we're looking at, yes, the possibility of a woman, a busy woman, a working class woman, missing it, not giving enough attention and all that, yes, we've discussed that. We've also looked at the possibility of a man being very adulterous, by nature.
Yep.
But the other aspect to this as well, and you mentioned the spirituality aspect to this. Okay, a girl can be on a mission. Okay, go and be an house help there and make sure to build it down. I would never forget an incident took place. Okay, some years ago, I think I led a prayer about the wickedness of the wicked has come to an end, and later on, one of our women came to share a testimony because they were supposed to go back home and have that prayer repeated, severally. And the house girl in the house started screaming and shouting, she's not going to do again. And then the woman called and said, what do you mean that you're not going to do? What exactly are you doing? And then she later said that she was sent, to create unrest in that home. And there has been a lot of, altercations and what have you, challenges at home, at the home front, so she finally found out that this lady was actually an agent from the devil. Okay. Yep. So looking at it from that perspective, what do you think?
All right. The first thing that I would want to draw our attention to is, if you are making up your mind to bring a maid to the house, you must take this up seriously in prayers. Now, there are also very innocent women. Now, I'm trying to move away a bit from the one who is on assignment, for instance. There are women who are just innocent. They didn't mean to come and spoil anything. And our sister said earlier that because men are polygamous and because they walk by sight, they will naturally see these things and start, Muslim.
Does it make it right? Does it make
No,
it?
it's not. It's not. It's not. It's
Yeah,
not right. Then again, it's not. It's not right.
It's not quite
let
a
me-
right.
Yeah,
or
because I
anything.
have so much to say.
Let me clear.
It's not
I
quite
have
a
so
right
much
or
to
anything.
say.
Yeah.
Let me say something, please.
Let me clear this. Let me
Excuse.
clear this. Let me
Is
clear
it
this. Let me
perfect
clear this.
excuse for a man to
No,
say
no.
that,
Let me clear
okay,
this.
he's side stimulated. This is happening at the home front.
Can I say something, please?
Let me clear this
You know,
before. Let me clear this before he comes in.
Pastor, please hold on a moment. Let's hear from Biodu.
Let's forget about the spiritual aspect now, coming from the marine and the others, because that is most of the excuses men have. You understand? When we talk about values and morals, yes, men naturally they are moved by sight, but let's not forget that they are still very disciplined men. Most of these maids
Yeah.
that you see, it is the men that even approaches them. Let's forget about the spiritual. It is
Yes.
the spiritual
Yes.
aspect that mostly they come with a mission. But where they don't come with mission, it is mostly the men, especially those we call believers in quotes. Let's not look
It's
outside
the men.
the
We
the
shouldn't
church.
vilify the nannies, the men. And we have a
Yes, the men.
responsibility
Let's not forget that.
to
If you want to
position
even talk
ourselves as
about
women.
in this context, if you want to talk about those that are really not disciplined, you'll be surprised. It is those that call themselves believers. You understand? Because
I agree.
the kind I've been privileged to discuss with most people, those we classify as Christians, born again. We know what it means to be a born again. To be a born again, you sold yourself to Christ and the rest.
Yes.
But what we have today, how many genuine born agains do we really have?
We
What
have
we have are those that call themselves Christians. They are just being religious. You understand? They are the ones that even pushes most of these maids. You understand? And another thing I wanted to say before we moved out of this, when you see your husband defending your maid, even when the maid is not talking, that is one of the red flags. You understand? They
also
defend them on every issue. They don't want you to see any fault. It will even if you are a smart woman, that is one of the red flags. You know that something is fishy. So let's not spiritualize everything. Most of these men, 96% of these men, they don't have value for themselves. That is why they can fall for anything. That's
awesome.
it.
All right, now, okay, we can go on and on because of time. What are the effects? What are the effects? Perhaps, at least, if people know what the effects are, or husbands and wives, definitely, maybe that would help them to be able to have a rethink, knowing that this action could lead to this and that. So, at this point, I would want Stephanie to join it just for 2 minutes or 1 minute, as the case may be, because we're really running against time now.
If the effects of sleeping with the housemaid, I don't think, and just like we said, men do. There's a difference between who a man loves and who he sleeps with. A man could just have sex because he wants to have sex, because he needs to release spermatozoa, in the words of someone that spoke. So when it comes to this thing of what are the consequences, they don't think consequences. It now has to be with the individual when it comes to principles and values and having rules of engagement. There are several reasons. So if the individual themselves is not about putting on the crown of Christianity or whatever it is, or they have to be the one to have a value or a creed that they are living for and have chosen to live for a consequence, recognize the consequence and choose themselves in the present. Otherwise, the consequence of this is really the man that determines it.
Okay, beautiful. Now, is it not demeaning for a woman? Does it not affect the children at home? Does it not devalue the entire, word of marriage? I mean, please, what do you have to say concerning that? Is it not demeaning?
Okay.
And does it not have,
first of all, let's understand how deep sexual relationship is. If you have sexual relations with someone who is not your wife, you have already invited a spirit into your home. Now, whether you be a believer or not, I want you to take that seriously. You don't have to be a believer. Once you have, whether it's adultery, whether it's fornication, you are inviting a strange spirit into your home. And what happens is that the moment that happens, the family begins to go down. From that point on, it starts to go down. There will be a challenge to a peaceful relationship between man and wife, between the man and his children, and from that it plummets. From that time onward, and from that point onward, what the devil would do in that home is unimaginable. And I have preached this before, else when I said that. Imagine, for instance, the demoniac in Mark chapter 5, who was the Gerasene demon. He said what he had in him was legion. Now imagine a woman who had legions of demons sleeping with anybody.
Exactly.
I'm trying not to. I'm not trying to spiritualize all this, but I'm saying that it is in every place. If your spirit is contaminated by this, it will bring separation. It will bring destruction. It will bring all kinds of negative impact on your home, and you can't control it beyond at that point. And God will not just.
I think what you are trying to say is, a maid or not, as long as you look out.
Yeah, that's what happens. And you can't control the consequences. You can't. You have no control over it. Yes, that's the truth.
That's right.
Okay. So if you want to save your family and save your children and save the generations after you, stay away from it.
All right. I mean, the other aspect of this is the rudeness of the maid. Okay.
Of course.
We're looking at now the rudeness made towards the madam of the house, because then she feels that, well, whatever you're enjoying, I'm also as well.
Yeah.
What do you have to concerning this, Biodo?
Like he said, if a maid is sleeping with the boss, the maid and the madam, they are the same. So you don't expect respect anymore. That is why I said it is mainly the men. You understand? Just look at what is happening in your Edoshe's family. We're talking about maid now. But you could see how the side chick, the lady, would be so bold enough to come out to say all sorts, even when the real wife, she doesn't even speak. Look at the consequences of that act, what it has caused, what it has led to. That is what also happens when a man has bring himself so low to the extent of sleeping with his maid. It affects the children, it affects the wife. Most times there are people that cannot forgive. And when unforgiveness crops into a home, nothing good comes into that home again. Do you know what it takes for a maid that you employed into your home? All of a sudden, the maid doesn't respect you anymore. She looks into your eyes and talk at you. And when you complain to your husband has nothing to say. It's frustrating.
Yes, and it's quite.
It doesn't make sense. It's frustrating. Whether you are a Christian or not, there's a limit any human being can take. That's the truth.
How do we put a stop to this? I mean, when we look at the effects, I mean, it's very damaging. The effects are enormous. I can even begin to mention quite a number of them myself, but because of time, how do we change the narrative? How do we stop our men from, promiscuity is one word, but we're going into the hospital, sleeping with the maid at home, Pastor?
Okay, the first thing to do is for the woman to keep being what she's always been. It is difficult. This is very difficult because now I preached the other day and I was telling people, listen, I was talking to men. Now, your wife may not be as sweet as she was when you got her. But remember that the reason she's like this now is because she now has had your children. She's now the one who goes into the kitchen and ensures that everybody eats in the home. She does everything possible. Now, the girl you're going to pick outside is the one who still has her nails all polished looking. She does nothing else. She just sits back at home and polishes her nails. But your wife will not have time to do all this because she's caring for the children. She's caring for your own family, caring for her own family, and a whole lot. Men should be taught to understand that that woman is more valuable than any other woman out there. That it's important for us to have that. This woman, you can't compare. I mean, imagine a maid who just comes in and does a few things and then begins to sleep with a man. What value does she bring to the home? What value does that woman out there bring to the home? No values. That's the truth. So we must look at our wives and say, you know what? This woman is doing a whole lot for me. She's one who ensures that I get food on my table. She's one who ensures that I sleep well if I'm sick. I mean, the maid will not be around to rush you to the hospital as a man when you fall ill. The woman is the one who is screaming all the time to find out, to ensure that the children are doing well. And after all this, you still abandon that woman and then you go elsewhere. That for me is indecent. Then the other thing is, please, if your husband is the one who comes to you from time to time and say, let's have a romantic relationship, let's try to sustain that part. That romantic relationship must be sustained. Because if he doesn't get it from you and somebody else is bringing that before him, chances are that he might shift focus. So that's that. And the other one is, we must pray hard to get the right man. Don't just marry. Don't just marry.
Ma'am.
And see, she has her finger.
Yes. Yeah. Like you said, how can we stop it? The truth is that it cannot be stopped. The decision must come from the man. Like
Absolutely.
you're talking about the if he says let's have a relationship, you shouldn't listen. There are some men, no matter how you satisfy them sexually, you understand, they still go out. So the decision should be for the men. Like what I was discussing with somebody the other day in my office. I said, I wish men could learn from what has happened to Yul Edochie. You understand? But such has been happening. It's not the first time. But yet they don't change. They only change when they want to change. There's nothing you do.
I think what I'm hearing from you is the mind thing. And the
Yes, it's the mind thing. It's the mind thing. Only you can help yourself. If you come out today and say, with the help of God, I am tired of this, I don't want to do it again, and you stick to it. Yes, that's the only thing that brings freedom. Outside that, no matter the sexual satisfaction the wife give, no matter how she cooks, how she dresses, how she looks fine, a man that is not disciplined will still go back to do same thing. That's it.
So true. So true. So sometimes we might not, the blame might not necessarily be put on the woman, completely. I'm not saying that, there are some women should do, but there has to be self-discipline, and then there is no area. There should be a no-go area. This I don't think of doing because I do not want. Okay, now someone is coming in and saying, my home is in trouble right now. I don't know what to do. This man is having it with my maid. Whenever I try to raise an eyelid to it, it's either I'm damned or, the man tries to defend the maid. What do I do? What do I do? Stephanie, do you want to say something concerning that?
I always insist on redefining the rules of engagement. I believe that marriage is not an entitlement, and marriage is not an achievement. I believe that people get into marriage, or rather should get into marriage, to fulfill a particular cause together as a team. So if there is something, and both of them should be mutual partnership. So if one of the partner is not feeling in sync, then they should go back to the rules of engagement to redefine the rules. What are the rules of engagement, and what are the things that are acceptable and are not acceptable? What's acceptable behavior? What are the deal breakers? Because if it's a woman that feels this man keeps slighting me, at the end of the day, you need to ask yourself, how much more of this, where is this going to, and how can we work together? Because can two work together except they agree? So what are we agreeing on, and what are we working together to achieve? It is what we're working together to achieve that will help us decide.
So in other words, there should be communication. There should be communication, meaning that the
communication
woman
is, yes,
needs to engage the man, on a practical note to say, honey, I have discovered some things that I'm not very comfortable with. Okay. And should this continue, these are the effects. All right. But in a situation, I think we've lost our pastor. Maybe he will come back in later. Let's see. Okay, he's back. Oh no, he's not back. He's not back yet. Okay. Okay. I do not want to lose my thought here now. But generally, I think what I'm trying to get us to look at is this woman is in serious dilemma. The man is sleeping around, especially with the maid. She complained. She could engage him with communication or in communication, as the case may be. And then the man is forceful, aggressive, and sometimes most men generally they don't like to face the reality as it were. Is there any way she can escalate it?
So I'm not speaking. So when I'm saying I'm not saying talk to him. I'm not talking of the grammatical or engagement of words. I'm talking about strategic engagement to say, what are we doing? Where are we going? Except I do not know why I married you, or you don't know why you married me. But if this issue of sleeping around or sleeping with the maid is really affecting me, that means it's affecting my contribution to the union. If it's affecting my contribution to the union, then it should concern you. If it does not concern you, that means the union is not important to you. If it's not important to you, then how can we agree? So if he's not listening, I mean, what happens? Take it to a counselor or take it to a trained therapist, or they could go for therapy. But if at some point they both now have to decide what is really keeping us together, because I think sometimes we feel stuck in engagements. Yes, we are spiritual, we are believers, but the Bible says it can two work together except they agree. So if we are not, what are we married to achieve? What are we achieving? And how important is that thing that we're achieving going to make us make the right choices with who we engage, with how we engage? What are the values that guide the union?
I might have to come. What does she do? She's
what does she seeks therapy? Or she gets out.
Yeah, right now you said she's confused. She has met the husband. The husband is even being aggressive. The man is the one that is sleeping around, is the one that comes back to beat the wife. You know, most of us women, we tolerate all of this because we are too spiritual. I think in a situation like that, the best thing would be just give space for a while. I will advise the woman, just give him space. But some people will say, when you give space, the strange woman will come in, blah, 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 and the rest. Look at May. I always use May as a case study.
Okay.
I always use her. When you know that you have done all you have to do as a woman, the fault is not from you. You have given your best. You have done your best, and God knows you have done your best. God will definitely fight for you. Because most times when you want to remain in such marriage, it ends up taking your life. Of what essence is a union when two of you can no longer agree? You see yourself as enemies.
This is it.
You understand? It doesn't make sense, because most of us, we see it like marriage is a do or die thing. To me, even as much as I know that God hates divorce or putting away, I shouldn't die in a marriage. Marriage is supposed to bring peace, rest of mind. But because one thing we don't understand is that emotional abuse is even worse than physical abuse.
Physical abuse, absolutely.
It affects the mental health. It changes who you are completely. So I will advise that woman that is going through all of this now, while she's praying and believing in God, I think she should give herself a break. Let her just stay up for a while.
Okay. Well, in a situation where the children is involved, excuse me, please, how best can she, give herself some break?
That is why it's better she's alive to take care of her children than die. That's the truth. You can always, one thing I've understand about family and marriage, the children, they know who is the devil in the marriage. They know if it is the mother that is oppressing the father, or if it's the father that is oppressing the mother. Most times, even the children, they will stick to whoever is the real one. They know, they see everything. So it's just for you. Most times, the children will even tell you, Mommy, I don't know what you are still doing here. Let's move. Because I remember my elder sister's a friend, she died, and that was because my sister was even part of those that keep telling her, stay for your children, stay for your children. And I remember she always say, I have to be alive for my children, but she was never alive for her children. You understand? Because each time the man misbehaves, he buys her a new car, takes her out and the rest, and she will just
That's
forget.
right.
And before you know, brings in another girl, they fight, he beats her and the rest. But today she's no more. So the children, for you, you need to put yourself first before the children, because you have to be alive and mentally stable for you to take care of your children. That is
So,
how I say it.
okay, awesome, awesome. ATS said sometimes they refuse to send their maid, or this they refuse to have the maid leave. I'm sure that's what she's trying to say, even when they are caught. Pastor, even when sometimes the men will decide not to have the maids leave, even when they are caught.
And
What?
I completely agree with Biodun over the issue of trying to do your best, and as soon as you realize that that best doesn't seem to be working for you, then you may need to really step aside for a while. Now,
Yeah.
and I like the way the church handles this. They tell you, cool, let's be away for a while. But I think the church should also come in if they belong to a church, or the family they belong to should come in if they belong to a family. Because this is the point where the woman may need to really go to the family of the man to say, you know what, I need your help. And of course, they will come in there and see what is happening. It's easy. But the woman should not be silent. And I think so too many women can be very silent on this issue because, one,
Yeah.
they don't want outsiders nipping into their
Yeah.
matters.
What the society will
Okay.
say.
They don't want to say what will
But
society
when you,
say.
sorry, permit me say, Pastor, when you say step aside for a while, that is very important, which is for your mental health. What does a while mean?
Exactly.
How long? What are you
Yeah.
stepping aside for?
For
Which is what, when I
instance,
was talking about the rules of engagement, let us redefine. If I'm going to stay here, then what terms are we running with? If we can't agree on
definitely.
those terms, then we have to separate. How long are we separating for? What are we separating to achieve? I mean, we need to be able to be specific about the things that need to be done so that someone doesn't just go, okay, I've been away for a while, maybe he will miss me. If it's a man that is really, if so there's someone else that fills the space, there's nothing to be missed. So
True.
sometimes we move
Definitely.
out of the house and we
Look
never
at
come
look
back.
at what I'm saying.
So if we're going to step
Look at
out,
what I'm saying.
then we're not. If I'm saying I am stepping out for the next 3 months because I need you to be able to tell me where we are going from here and what will be acceptable. This is what my terms are. Do you agree on my terms? Let us find a compromise or a common ground to collaborate further
Stephanie, I
because
don't know
we're a
whether you have
team.
come across.
Oh my God, Biodo is gone.
Stephanie, I don't know whether you have come across some men. I don't know whether you have come across men who are really vicious. This is
Yes,
not.
I
This is
have.
no.
Which is why,
This is
yes.
not like. This is not like a drama. It's not like a drama. The truth is that there are
Wait,
some men
No, I have
who can
seen
even
vicious
kill
men,
you.
but the issue is silent women.
Can
They have
I
vicious men. There's no vicious
can I
man that will not calm down with a
actually
woman that stands up to him.
can just hang on? Like the pastor said, some men can be very vicious. I mean, for example, if for a man to have come, some men will feel very remorseful for ever even doing
Yeah.
that. I mean,
Yeah.
forever accept that low. And of course, they'll be very apologetic. But there are some men who will be like, and so
They
what?
don't care.
They
If
don't
you
care.
can't stay, you
They will
leave.
even beat you.
So even if
They
it
will
is,
even beat you.
but he will defend on you, so
They will
that
even beat you.
respect to this. And
I'm a
then
counselor, and I know what I mean.
exactly. Okay, so she comes up with, I mean, we're going to be doing something maybe on the live gist of your Mama Helen and you, soon. And this has to do with some sisters who are actually taking their sisters' husbands as well. I mean, a lot, because this is what live gist is all about. Some societal issues that are beginning to, put it this way, I mean, becoming a menace, and yet a lot of people are running away from it. We want to be able to shed light, on them, and then see the possibility of addressing them, and hoping that hopefully things would would be handled the way they should, because the more we talk about them, the better it is for everyone. Now, the question again is, okay, I'm still going back to the question. What does she do? Fine. She has the aspect, the aspect to leave is there. But then, isn't there any other thing that she can do? Besides,
that's what I was saying. That's what I was saying. She has to go back to the family, because the point is that this is not something she can handle on her own. I mean, if she's with a man who is truly vicious, she's likely going to be going to engage in domestic abuse over time, and that this
Pastor,
can
it
affect
still
her
depends on the family you are talking about.
No, hold on. No, hold on. You can't. You are not alone. You belong to a community. You belong to a family. So don't go solo on this. Otherwise, you can have all kinds of troubles trying to manage this on your own. You can't manage it on your own. You have to go. You have to go back to the church.
One of our viewers, who said, "You are bringing your wife and the family down. God have mercy on you." Now, isn't that a strong word right there? If a man can be at least realistic to understand that your actions can actually affect many things, won't that be some level of consideration in a matter such as this?
But if something is driving the man, this is not something the woman can handle alone. No, I know I have come across couples who have where the man has a concubine outside, and that concubine comes to the house to eat in that house and relax in that home. And every time the woman raises this up, the man beats her up. So what do you do? Might just be able to, help you handle this. You can't do it on your own. That's what I'm trying to say. If you go to the church, there are prescriptions. If you try to talk to the man from your sponsors and from elder brothers, family members, you go to the church. And then if they can't handle it at that point and you keep having this domestic abuse, then you have to decide to step aside for a while. Because if he does not agree to go back to the drawing board to discuss what held you together in the first place, then what do? Should you remain there and be tortured and maybe killed? No. I think you mentioned that earlier. A woman shouldn't die over this. That's what I'm trying to say. There must be an institution that you can go back to. Maybe a community, maybe a family that you can invite into this matter to help handle it. Because there are some people, some men who are driven by all kinds of influences. And unless those kind of influences are removed from their life, that's my take on that. So they have to go back to someone that can help intervene. That's the truth.
Okay, I've heard during counseling, I've heard a man say, well, I can't, because I know I can't go out because of my status in society. Sleeping with a house help tends to protect or gives me a cover. What do you have to say concerning that?
That's madness. That's to tell you that such a man is just his nature. He's not ready to change. It's just what he wants. I know of a man that's made a mistake, and the man promised the wife, he was so apologetic. He promised the wife that never again will such happen. And honestly to that, never again did it happen. So for a man to say because of his status, his caliber,
yes,
if he goes outside, they will know.
Never again will it happen. And they have just tightened. There are some that have said never again will it happen, and they've only tightened the security to ensure.
No, I'm not talking about the security now. I'm talking about. No matter how bad the situation is, let's be truthful to ourselves. There are people, when they give you their word, they've given you their word. It's not about tightening security here. This man came up and said, listen, he almost paid with his life. There are some people, they might not really be pastors or anything, but God loves them. And the Bible says God chastises those he loves. So when you commit certain sins, the way God deals with you is different from the way he deals with others. So when such a man have an encounter and he suffers from the hands of God and promises his wife it will never happen again, it never happen again. Being a pastor doesn't make you an untouchable person. Most pastors, they even hide under that shade to commit all sorts. You understand? So it's individual thing. As bad as the world is, there are men that are still truthful to their wives. As bad as the world is, there are men that still keep to themselves. They are not Christians, they are not believers, but they just made up their mind that no, I'm not going to rubbish my wife. No matter how bad it is, let us be truthful to ourselves. You understand?
And also,
So let
not
us
forgetting that
stop.
there are also women that cheat on their husbands.
Of
And their
course, if we want to talk about that topic, listen, if we want to talk about that topic, there are women that cheat on their husbands, and it is not very common. It's the same. There are some women that I know of. A woman is not something to be proud of, but I know of a woman that because the man did that, she refused to forgive, and she was tempted to do such. You understand? I'm not saying women are perfect. We're talking about the men now. Some men, they see themselves that they are God, they are men, so they can do anything and get away with it. I'm only trying to say here that there are still good men, and take it or leave it, they are up to 50%. There are good men that put their wives there. And if at all, because of their nature, they eventually fall, they regret every of their move and they never go back to it again.
That is true.
You understand?
That is,
I agree with you 110%.
So that's it.
That's true.
110%. Okay. You have all been very fantastic. We just have about 8 minutes more before we leave. Whether it's a man or woman, a cheating woman or a cheating man belongs to the same category. Okay? If you're married to a man, keep yourself. If you're married to a woman, keep yourself. And if you derail, just like what Bionu said, pick yourself up. There should never be anything. In fact, it should never be heard in marriage. Where some of us were old school, will believe that certain things should never even be tolerated. You know, that a man decides to cheat and a woman now decides to more or less retaliate, because that's what it is. That is you bringing yourself down as a woman. That means you don't have value for yourself. When you have value for yourself as a woman or man, you won't even step out of your marital vow. You will not. And sleeping around is one of those things that you don't even want to consider at all, because it's demeaning. It's a reproach. Let me put it that way. It's a reproach. Whether you're a Christian or not, it shouldn't be something that anyone should even say. It's not good. What is not good is not good. Okay, now, what do you do to a maid? Okay, this maid, she's, even though the man might be saying she's not leaving, because some men might say, well, she's not going to leave. What do you do?
You know, the situation you have never been before, it's very funny to decide. You understand? Like me, I don't pray such happens to me. The maid will say, because I'm not ready to leave my home for a maid. Let's just be very sincere. You understand? So, is either I don't know. It has not happened to me, so I don't know what I would say. But truth be told, hey, no, it's not possible. The maid will leave.
Biodun, I can tell from your reaction that you will not joke with this.
I'm telling you, I will not.
Anyway, I think there are some, like you have said. No, you have said something very important. You have said there are some areas that are no-go areas. Yes. You have the right as a wife to eject that girl.
Yes.
Yeah.
So, and you must stand your ground.
You
must roar. You must grow up.
Ha.
Let that, because the truth is that that girl is like a spoke under your feet. Pull it out. It can be painful, but pull it out. And now this might draw the wrath of your husband. But the truth is that the first thing is, see, don't try to impress anybody, because sometimes when we are trying to impress people, and what would they say? That my husband insisted that this woman should stay in the house, and I'm the one who is pushing that she should leave, and they will tag me, wrongly, and because of that, maybe I should just keep my peace. Keep my peace. No, she has to go. And once people
She's
come
going.
to you and they ask you why are you pushing the body? Say, see, this is my home, and this is what I want. This girl should leave.
I mean, is that not what Sarah did to Hagar? It's a one out.
Leave.
That's the goal.
So that's the point. She has to go. There's no two ways. There's no two ways about it. As long as she remains in that home, you continue to experience troubles. So she has to go.
Yeah, so
and then maybe if she leaves, then the man will turn his attention back to you. I mean,
so if we're still talking about that aggressive man that says she shouldn't leave the house, and then she leaves, and you're saying he turns the aggression, it still also comes back to the woman to be firm with her place in the house.
Exactly.
To be firm. Because there are many women that are not firm. They get firm too late. Yeah. Because I believe that as women, we teach our men how to treat us. We unconsciously teach them how to treat us. By the time we want to begin to put our foot down, it is too late. We want to snatch it suddenly, and he will back.
That is
exactly.
So
that's the truth.
We have to begin to know how to. It's not aggression. Be able to assert your position as a woman.
Exactly.
Assert from the beginning. It's not. There's a difference between humility and foolishness. Many of us are not.
I think the greatest challenge we have as women, especially Christian women, is, when you're doing your very best to be submissive, and then you're hoping that the man will change. But I think the understanding now is, please play it from the get-go. What you are not going to accept later on,
don't accept it from the beginning. Yeah.
And I also think I think there's something that believers do.
Exactly.
There's something that believers do. They also try to let go of reason.
Okay. Listen, exactly. Letting go of reason. Thinking that he would change because you are Holy Spirit.
No, don't do that. Because God gave us nature.
From the beginning, and then you want him to change.
God gave us nature. You don't pray everything. You don't pray everything.
We have to find a way to end this. We've actually out of time. I want to appreciate you have always been dynamic.
Thank you, Mama.
Oh my God, you're ever firebrand. Thank you for bringing in your wisdom to today's topic.
Thank you, Ma.
Of course, Stephanie, this is the first step. Incredible. Thank you so very much for being a part of today's program. And Pastor, awesome. Thank you for bringing in the dynamism in terms of being a pastor and then being a male folk in today's discussion. The discussion has been incredible. Thank you to all our discussants today. We are very, very grateful. Now, there is no time for me to be able to say one word, but if at all you're going to say a word, just a word, what would that word mean? What would that word be? Biodo, quickly.
As women, let's always put God first in all we do and just do our best. That's it.
Put God first in all we do. Stephanie, one word.
One word. Stay true to the genius that you are and let the genius shine through.
Awesome. Pastor.
Well, your love for your marriage is not exactly your love for your spouse. It's your love for God. So love God in your spouse. Love God in your spouse.
Love God in your spouse. You've all spoken very well. To all our viewers out there, I truly appreciate it. We all do. Thank you so very much for being a part of today's Life Gist with Mama. To the men out there, listen, place value on yourself. Yes, we know you are sight stimulated, but there should be some level of limits. I mean, don't go outside of your way to wreck your home. Is that girl worth it? I think that should be the question. At the end of the day, is she worth it? Is she worth it? I think you should always ask yourself that question. Look at what one of let me be precise. Abiodun said a while ago, the Yul Edochie, saga. At the end of the day, look at what happened to the son because a stranger was brought into the home.
Yeah.
Is it worth it? Always ask yourself that question. When you do, I think that should help you. You'll be defining your standard in terms of your home front. It's important. And then for the women out there, maybe you are in this condition and you don't know what to do. You've been told, just get your foot down and let your no be no and your yes be yes. That young lady is an intruder. Show her the door. And please don't ignore the red flags. When the red flags are screaming, don't try to say, well, I trust my husband. He's not going to do it. Work on the red flags. The thing that God has blessed women with is intuition. We are blessed with that. Sometimes you might not be able to place your hand on it, but somehow intuitively, something is telling you that something is wrong. Pay attention to your inner voice so that you can act when it is needed. Okay? And of course, it's not too late. God can still make things right, and God can make things happen. Before you consider separation, you might need to approach someone who is reasonable in the family. And if should that be wrong, well, take it, escalate it. Perhaps you can approach a therapist or something. Just do something. Do your very best. Communicate with the man. Let him know that what you're doing is wrong. Don't bring yourself to a place where a man will be violent towards you to the point of trying to destroy you or to even make it a fertile situation. Know when to excuse yourself until things are restored. But the most important thing is that just because the man went low, don't go low with him. When they go low, we go high. Thank you so very much indeed for being a part of Latches with Mama Helen today, and to our guests, our counselors today. You've been incredible. Thank you again.
Thank you, Mama.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, ma'am.
Program. Thank you. It will be nice to have you back again some other time. Thank you. From all of us to you, have yours. Mwah! We love you.
Mwah. Love you, Mama. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye,
Never
everyone.
stop,
Thanks for having me.
never stop loving God and never stop loving you. You're worth it. You're the best thing that has ever happened. Bye-bye. God bless you. Bye.
Bye-bye, Mama. Bye.
Bye. Bye.
Bye,
Bye,
everyone.
Pastor. Bye, Steph.